So trimming is not something real easy to start with, because you got to learn how to get the pot back into the center. There's several ways of doing it. You guys see that that's not centered, right? You think that centering the clay is hard. You got to figure out how to get this pretty close. I mean, it's not right on back in. It's always important too to center, maybe not necessarily the bottom of it, but a part up where you're going to stop trimming. So I'm going to stop trimming right here at this ridge. So one way to do it is to fill that high spot, stop the wheel, move it over a little bit, find the high spot, move it. You'll see some people take a needle tool and mark where the high spot's at and do it. And over consecutive small movements. That's about as close. That's as close as you're going to get to imperfect material, right? The other way, it takes more practice. It's all about timing. And it's a lot harder on these ones that the top's a little narrower, or the clay's a little softer. Okay, I'm going to go back to the other way. When it's softer like this, what happens is it doesn't want to scoot as easy on the wheel head, so it becomes harder to do. This is a little before leather hard, but I'm going to try to trim it anyway. There's this thing over there that we're rolling a lot of these porcelain on. It's called a Giffen grip. It's a mechanical way of doing it. But if your pot's not perfectly round to begin with, you're not going to get it back on center. This, the lip up here, I can make a picture and still be able to center, or I could have it completely wonky, oval shaped at the top and have it the bottoms put back on center. So I'm going to need a little more clay because if this is narrower like this, you really got to put extra clay under it. You want your clay to be a little bit softer than leather hard, so it holds it in place but doesn't stick to the pot. And you just need to get 3 nice things. I'm holding it with my left hand in place. There's other ways to do it, but to begin with, this is one of the easier ones. If this wadding clay is too soft, by the way, you'll end up shoving it off center because it's going to give. Okay. Now hand me the trimming tools, please. There's 2 loop tools right there. There's 2 basic trimming tools. This one's for removing a lot, and this one's for doing more detail. I actually just use one. I could do everything with this one. A lot of people switch back and forth for different shapes and stuff. But the idea here is to remove larger ribbons. So I'm kind of steadying it a little bit, feeling for if it's going to move with my left hand. And instead of removing a little bit of clay like that, especially if it's drier, you'll see people just have like flakes come off. And we'll really get in there, put some pressure, and remove some clay. Now, one thing I should have done was feel how thick it was in the bottom, but you can still tell. So see how it switched to the point now?
That one's pretty thick, so.
Yeah, I know it's thick. On bowls and stuff especially, it's good to you can feel it. You can tell if it's a 1/4 inch, 3/8 or half or whatever. I don't want to see you guys just removing in small amounts. I want to see you try to get some big amounts of clay off at a time, so it's spending so much time just scraping at it. I can feel. Oh, that's about right. It gave a little bit. So what I'm doing now is going back to more scraping at it, just to level it up. And who has a metal rib handy? I'll actually, on my stuff, because of the way I throw, I'll go back in. This is what I'm throwing off the hump, where I throw a bunch of little, I'll throw a bunch of little things off of like a 25, 50 pounds of clay or whatever, instead of small balls. So I recompress the bottom with a metal tool. Okay. I'll also take and press any grog or any torn kind of things. Just a little dampness. Make this nice and round so that it's not got a sharp spot to chip when it sits against the table. And make sure to make the foot ring a nice thickness. You don't want a little thin foot ring on a cup like this. You want to have it about the same diameter. You want to have a relationship between that foot ring and the mouth of the pot so that it doesn't look top heavy or anything like that. So, you know, if this was real skinny, it would want to tip over. If it was too fat, it would not make it look as nice either. And I just go over it, put some gestural type lines in. You guys also don't have to necessarily scrape these solid or smooth when you're throwing these cups. You can leave finger rings, what we call finger rings, from the pulling and stuff in it now. But the idea here is to get this interior inside the foot ring shape and this out here to be one continuous curve. So if that ring wasn't there, that would be one curve from the center to here. Okay, you don't want to leave extra here or anything like that. You also don't, there's no point in trimming a foot ring on something and leaving it almost flat, because that center can actually, especially on bigger pieces, can sag down a touch. But it's nice on a lot of these to be able to glaze in here and out here and just have this cleaned off. There's actually certain things with glazing out. I've had pieces that have shivered, the glaze has popped off because there was more tension on the inside because the glaze had nothing underneath. It's not fun. And then I'll go back over it. You know, I use a rib for a lot of things, so I'll smooth that with a rib. Make a nice shadow line there. That gives me a place, you know, I may stop the glaze there before it even gets to the foot ring. Especially with the runny glaze, it's nice. I could add some texture. This clay right now is soft enough that I could add a double line there. You can use this smaller tool, don't ever think to use, to get into make lower lines if the clay is too stiff for the rib. I could also go in and refine some of the shape. It's best to throw the pot exactly how you want it on the upper part. But if you have a little bit of heaviness there right now, you know, I can trim that out and make that a little bit nicer. One more time. So you see I don't have any moisture on my fingers. I'm just lightly pushing and smoothing, pushing all the grog back into the piece, just straightening my lines up. Now it looks like that. Reach in. It's nice thickness there. This pot's a little thick right in this area, but there's not a whole lot I could do with it unless I trim the whole shape. So that's trimming. So, and I'll believe me, I'll demo this again.